breaking every peak. Talk of love and battle scars, everything that's real. From touchdown to sermon, you know the deal. Strength in every word we begin to reveal. Truth in every tale as our lives we unveil. Talk of love and battle scars, everything that's real. From touchdown to sermon, you know the deal. Strength in every word we begin to reveal. Truth in every tale as our lives we unveil. Protect and provide, we're knights in the fray. Nothing off limits, we got something to say.
I'm working way too much. This is not
You're not used to it?
acceptable.
It's like having a job.
Fucking ridiculous.
Are you talking about your normal job or this job?
No, my regular job.
Oh, okay.
This job is fun. I could be obsessed and spend hours doing it. The
Okay.
problem is I don't get paid for it.
Yeah, not yet. Not yet. We're not doing it yet. We're not getting paid for it yet.
Like, share, and subscribe.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, you guys ready?
Yeah.
do this.
Let's go.
Greetings, everybody. Welcome to the Guys Night Podcast. I am your host, Will. To my right tonight is Evan.
What's going on, everybody?
And, of course, to my left is David.
What's happening, friends?
Yeah, we just wanted to get together tonight and talk about a couple of things. We're going to try to make this hopefully a weekly portion that we can get an extra podcast in. If any of you guys are out there listening and want to join us, talk about whatever's interesting to you, whatever world topics are going on, whatever funny things you've watched recently or crazy trends that are going out there on social media, we'd be happy to have you. Thursday nights, I think, is a night that we can just get together and do this. What do you think, guys?
I'm fine with that. Yeah, after work for sure.
Yeah.
All right, so everybody
and
was
roll.
tasked to bring something tonight to discuss. So does anybody want to go first?
I have no problem going first for mine because one of the I have two things for me. One was from work because our work's been on our butts about hitting sales numbers.
You don't say.
Like crazy because we have what we call our P1 sales quota that has to hit at the end of a month. We have to hit so many numbers on sales of Miller Lite, and everybody's talking about how numbers have been going down every year since 2023.
You mean like the amount that you're selling?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the amount we're selling, the volume we're selling, all that stuff. And I'm like, it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen because it's all these new beers coming out. You got to understand when new product comes out, people sometimes leave their normal brands to try out these new products.
Well, look at the craze that seltzers have
Yes.
taken over the last 5 years.
Valid.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you got to understand some of these seltzers have big backers like podcasts.
Speaking
And-
of,
Yeah.
if you're interested in your seltzer being a sponsor of the program, we'd be happy to swap out the bourbon in the background for some high noons.
High Noons, Happy Dads. That's what I sell is Happy Dads.
So
White Claws.
What are Happy Dads?
Happy Dads is it's another seltzer brand. It's another.
Okay.
It's just a seltzer brand that came up. Oh God, it was big for like 6 months. We had it, and it flew off the shelves.
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden, it started slowing down.
Why?
Like, that's because it was a craze. It was one of those crazes. Like new brand came out, everybody wanted to try it. It was backed by. Well, let me look it up. There was a podcast that was just backing it. It was brought up by a podcast. So let me
Okay.
see. So I forget exactly what podcast was.
Evan,
What?
while the hard seltzer market as a whole has shown some signs of softening, Happy Dad has actually seen significant growth with a 57% increase in year-to-date sales, reaching 65
But
million.
we're slow in our market. We're slow. I mean, like I sold maybe.
Well, you're also in Ohio, right? So
True.
Ohio, I feel like, is more of like a bourbon beer kind of area. We talked about it's funny actually. Joe from Pavlik Performance was talking about the Ohio diet, and he's like nicotine, alcohol, and I forget what the other things were that make up the Ohio
Caffeine.
diet. Yeah, caffeine. That's exactly what it was. He's like, but like that's not the same diet that's in Texas or Florida or California, and it's a lot to do with the weather and like keeping yourself going when it's 20 degrees outside.
That's the diet in California. They just add avocado to it.
and cocaine.
And cocaine, maybe cocaine. LA in particular with the cocaine. But I don't know, Evan. Maybe the sales are down here because of I don't know, product knowledge of the people who are pushing this brand.
Yeah, maybe you're just not excited about Happy Dad. You're telling everybody sales are down, and
Oh,
there's
it just is.
57% increase.
It's down. I mean, literally, I was selling maybe a year ago, maybe 200 cases a day. Now I'm down to selling maybe 10 cases, 20 cases a day.
Okay, that's
So,
wild.
yeah,
Lower
it's-
demand.
Well, I think it was a big rush, and now since it's been on the market for about a year and a half, that people know what they want. They're either happy with the brand or not happy with the brand. Like the one flavor we used to have is banana. I loved banana.
Okay.
Hey, you know what? There's actually a TikTok trend going around about
Yeah.
cats and bananas or apples and bananas or
Yeah.
something like that. I've seen often. I think the aspect, here's one thing I have noticed about alcohol brands: there's less advertising for them on TV, right? Because before you used to have cable TV. Now you don't. So
Correct.
the TV that is out there, Hulu and not Netflix, but Paramount and all these places that do have ads, they're pushing pharmaceutical products and Disney. Because Disney's opening up that big new park this year. Whatever. Have you guys seen any of those commercials?
I haven't seen any of
No,
that
not
yet.
yet.
They are everywhere on any kind of streaming device. Like I have Prime, but I still have commercials during the shows or whatever. But they are they're 50% of the ads. So it's like I'm trying to think of like what the ad looks like. But yeah, so right now all the ads are dominated by Disney and their new park that's opening up and pharmaceuticals. You don't see beer commercials sponsoring these different streaming platforms. You don't really see beer or alcohol commercials even on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, or anything like that. I'm wondering where the marketing dollars are actually going into now that I think about it.
Influencers.
Because, I mean, back in the day, I started drinking Coors Light because of the Twins. Do you guys remember the Twins commercial?
The girls.
Well, that would be correct. Yes.
Yeah. If I'm trying to think,
do you guys not remember them?
I have a.
They
little
were mostly during football season.
Okay, I remember them. Yes.
How do you remember them based off of a fat guy on the thing?
Oh,
No, they're cheerleaders.
They popped up.
Yeah,
for
they're
a second
cheerleaders,
there,
yeah.
but
Oh, did they?
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah, the
right here.
cheerleaders, yep.
So here's one.
that
I love playing
Is that
to
90s?
touch, eating way
2000s,
too
chill.
Ooh.
much, watching my team win with the Twins. I love quarterbacks eating dirt, pom-poms and short skirts, fans who won't quit, and those Twins. And I love them too.
Well, I think
So
there's-
those were the commercials. Like when I was in the military, there was this one bar off post. I cannot remember the life of me, but we used to spend every Saturday there from like open at 10 o'clock until 8 o'clock at night because they thought I was 21. So when I was 19, I was able to drink there, which was terrible for my dating game because one of the waitresses and I hit it off well, but she always wanted to meet up at the bar afterwards. And I'm like, yeah, I got to call it a night early. We're
shit.
probably just going to go to a house party or something. But I remember these Twins commercials. Me and my buddy Dennis used to they're like, the Coors Light became our drink, and it's still my drink today, 25 years later or whatever. But you don't see that kind of marketing anymore.
Well, I think it's because of the culture change over the last 10 years, 20 years, because you got to understand a lot of like I've seen the market flip flop because it used to be all domestic beers, popular for all the beers now. Now, if you go to like for example, 4 years ago, all the bikers were drinking like Miller Lite, Bud Light, all that stuff. But when I was at a biker bar in Florida, like a 1% patcher. You know what? Do you guys know what I'm talking about by a 1% guy that in a biker gang? 1%.
The 1%er?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he was drinking White Claws out of a fucking bucket. I really wanted to take a picture and send it to my boss.
That would have been a great ad.
it would have been.
But the guy was looking.
1% of the men out there are manly enough to
Well,
drink
and I
hard
was like,
seltzer
and
in front
you-
of people.
I
And
think that. Well, I think Will hit it on the head. I think that there's only so much real estate, if you will, in terms of advertising. So if you think about Super Bowl and all of those things, like big events, right? Like, because television subscription is way down because eyeballs are going to streaming service. I mean, classic television is down, right? Because people are going to streaming, people are watching on their phones, on their tablets and everything. But with that, there's only so much real estate available to sell ads. And so if you're pharma, you've got the most money to spend. My point with that is, when was the last time you went to a concert and you're jamming out and you look up at that massive banner above the stage and you see Pfizer? You're never going to fucking see that. You're going to see Bud Light. You're going to see Coors, because that's where, their dollars are still, I think, more ground level, not necessarily grassroots, but ground level, meaning, they want, they want more like hearts and minds while you're in the mood, you're there. Now it's one thing you go to a concert, it's a Bud Light event. You're not getting Coors Light at that event.
Right.
You're getting Bud Light. So they're spending their money to be at that party because they're going to get direct sales, as opposed to, like the type, like with what you're talking about in terms of what was the seltzer called? Dads?
Happy Dads.
Happy Dads. So that's a pull through product unless you have something like a television ad or a podcast or somebody who's really pushing that. That's your job to go out there and pull that through that distribution channel and be present and bring signage. And like you have to provide that vibe. It's that massive, Bud Light banner that's in their face that makes people want to try it, buy it, and then ultimately it sell.
Well, it's funny too, because you still see that for Bud Light, you still see that for Miller's Light, Coors Light. You see their big displays in the front of in front of the store, especially when it's like around a holiday or a football event or whatever. But you don't ever see it really for these other brands that are out there. And to me, it's funny because I feel like people are already going to associate with Miller Lite, Coors Light, Bud Light, Budweiser. Like, I don't need signs to. If I'm going in there to get a 12-pack of beer, I know which beer I'm going to get
to a store.
Correct.
Yeah, to a store. Yeah.
To a store, to a gas station, or anything.
Yeah,
Typically, you're a creature of habit. You drink the same beer. If you're going to dabble in anything, you're going to dabble in seltzers. You're going to dabble in some different whiskeys and bourbons. And it's the job of the merchandiser to put that in front of people rather than putting the same thing in front of people that they're already coming there to buy. For instance,
correct.
if I'm going to get beer for the weekend or for a party or something like that, I'm going to go grab what I want to drink no matter what. But if I want to grab some seltzers and stuff like that, whatever catches my eye first.
Yeah.
Now I started drinking High Noons, I think last year. And they're good. They're okay.
What led you to those?
Yeah,
I think it was more so because like when I was playing volleyball on Friday nights, like I wanted something lighter, and like a beer would just make me feel like shit if I had two of them, but like a seltzer beer, it was like, oh, it's a little bit lighter. But you can't. It fucking takes forever to get drunk on it, and you spend the whole night burping. So there's like downside. there's downside.
Yeah, there's downside.
Well.
Yeah, it's very much so. But yeah, but the market is. I also think the market is too flooded right now. You got to understand. I think the market is too flooded with all these new brands, all the new teas, seltzers, beers coming out constantly. You got to every 2 to 3 months we got a new brand coming in our way.
But that goes to today's day and age where not as many people. Well, it's funny because a lot of research will tell you that a lot of people are brand specific, but at the same point in time, we live in a culture where we're constantly like checking out for the next greatest thing.
Yes,
the next thing that becomes popular. It's like you think of Starbucks, or not Starbucks, but Dunkin' Donuts to me was like a thing of the past. Like I forgot all about Dunkin' Donuts, but you know what brought it back was that Charlie D'Amelio. I don't know if you know who she is, but she had like the Charlie drink. So then all of a sudden, every high school girl, junior high girl wanted to go to Dunkin' Donuts, and parents started going. Then iced coffee was also a part of that craze too. That brought everybody back to Dunkin', and now there's a line freaking in the drive-through that's a mile long at every Dunkin'.
Right after school in particular.
Yeah, of course. And it's like, man, I mean, but they brought it back using some of these influencers and stuff like that, where a lot of these beer brands, they probably are in that dinosaur age. No, they're in the dinosaur age.
Well, some of the brands are.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, they're big hitters. Like you're talking about flags at a concert, right? But they're also sponsoring the concert, so therefore they have the only exclusive beer of the concert.
Right. Yep.
So of course they're going to get sales from that.
Yes.
How about Bud Light's use of influencers from a little over a year ago?
Oh, God, that's what I was about to go into. I was about to say, how
did that
they
work
took
out?
They took a huge.
Well, you guys, not you guys, but Miller Lite took a pretty big hit too, if I'm not mistaken. When they did something.
We didn't take as big of a hit. We took a small dip because we actually, after Bud Light started releasing that, we'll take apart your old stuff and replace it with the new stuff.
Oh, there he is, right there at the top.
Was it? Which one?
At the top.
Is this it right here?
God.
That.
He destroyed the brand
Impressive
almost.
carrying skills, right? I got some Bud Lights for us. So, I kept hearing about this thing called March Madness.
Show us your
we were all
dick.
just having a hectic month, but it turns out it has something to do with sports. And I'm not sure exactly which sport, but either way, it's a cause to celebrate. This month, I celebrated my day 365 of womanhood, and Bud Light sent me possibly the best gift ever, a can with my face on it.
Are you
Check
fucking
out my
kidding me? I
Instagram
never saw
story to
this.
see
You
how
never
you
saw
can enjoy
this?
March
This was
Madness
played
with Bud
multiple
Light,
times.
and
This
you
went
can
viral.
save some money, too.
This
Love
was
ya.
beyond viral. This was played at the
Cheers.
Super Bowl,
Go team. Whatever team you love,
2024 Super
I
Bowl.
love too.
Well,
Okay.
I forget the hit they took. They took a
Love-
few $1 billion hits.
Oh, I'm sorry, 2023 Super Bowl.
Yeah,
yeah.
So 2 years back.
Yeah. They
So
took.
I heard about all that, but I never went back and paid attention to any
Oh,
of it. I
it's
was like,
horrible.
I'd like to point out that
I don't drink Bud Light. I think it tastes like horse piss, but
yeah,
Well, but hey, guess what? I got a fact for you guys. What is the hardest beer to brew out of all the kinds of different beers?
the hardest, the brand or the type of beer.
Just this type of beer.
hold on
The
a second.
hardest?
Hold on.
That-
Wait,
yeah.
hold on. So real quick, that ad cost Bud Light the equivalent of $1.4 billion loss in sales.
Yeah.
Holy shit, man.
Yeah.
That is crazy. I remember it was a big thing. Remember Shane Gillis was like, fuck Bud Light,
Yeah.
but I still drink it or whatever.
Yeah,
Well,
Oh, yeah.
also
But
Kid
didn't they-
Rock said no, he will never drink Bud Light again.
Yeah.
Kid Rock.
But
yeah,
didn't-
they worked it out though.
Yeah, I was gonna say, isn't
They worked it out.
Isn't Shane Gillis like doing commercials for them now?
Probably.
Yeah, and they had to pay so much money.
Yeah.
To get them back on track. Well, the beer market value right now in today 2025 is $117 billion in sales a year.
Hold on.
It is not just a fragrance.
Is this their comeback video to make it manly?
It is a feeling. It is a passion.
What? Oh, where'd you get a snake?
We are lost,
Yeah, I'm lost. I'm 100% lost here.
but we are on the edge.
Hey, all right. This is pocket full of sand.
Is it booger sugar?
Hey, I think I'm in the wrong commercial.
What?
Yeah, dude, this isn't right.
Wait, aren't you Andre?
No, I'm Shane. My name's Shane.
Huh. Oh, I see what's going on. You're supposed to be in a Bud Light commercial.
Oh, I'm supposed to be in a Bud Light. I'm supposed to be in a Bud Light commercial, not here. So that's why I'm the odd one out down here.
Well, if you're here, Andre is.
Something is different about you, man.
So they went completely opposite of
Yep.
it. Like, you know what? Maybe we should just get back to the basics. This is not working out well for us. We lost $1.4 billion and probably 10% of our client base.
You got to understand, Bud Light and Budweiser is a college brand, is a guy brand beer. It's not anything else. I can't imagine. Can you imagine?
I'd say it's a chick beer too, though.
It's a chick beer.
It's just an American beer.
all around
Yeah.
beer. All around beer.
Yeah.
I was gonna say I know some pretty hot girls that drink Bud Light.
Yeah.
And
I
that
haven't-
that thing that was on there in the last one is not a hot girl.
Right.
It's not a hot anything.
What? She's something. He's something.
He
They're-
is something.
they, whatever politically correct.
No, there's no
correction.
they, there's no the, that, the other. You're a fucking dude who's wearing a chick's dress and makeup.
How crazy is it that we live in a world where a woman or a man could let's just call it a man who can have his balls and dick cut off, remove their fucking breasts or add breasts, whatever the fuck it is, call themselves a woman, and then they become popular and a ton of people want to see them on a commercial like that. Well, not a lot of people, but
not well.
48% of the population.
I'm
None of them
a-
which drink Bud Light.
I'm a live and let live kind of person. Like I don't hate the guy for his decisions that he'd
Doesn't
like to
matter to
make.
me.
Like doesn't matter to me, but don't come on television and say you're celebrating womanhood. You were born with a dick.
Yeah, 100% agree.
And you still have a dick, by the way.
Yeah, and once again, like I don't have any problem with somebody doing their own life choices, but
Yeah.
at the same point in time, like I don't need it brought on me, and I'm sure that
Yeah.
probably not YouTube friendly conversation.
Oh
but,
boy. Or maybe it will be.
yeah, what are you gonna do?
Okay.
But yeah, I think the other aspect of it too is craft beer obviously has taken up a portion of it. Now I understand the
Correct.
craft beer market has dropped a little bit, but then
3%.
I think bourbon is becoming a big part of it
Yes.
too. A lot more people drink bourbon than I remember.
It's cool.
It is cool. It's hip.
It's fucking cool.
Well, and
it's
on
like,
top of that,
it's like
it's
grown
cheaper.
man shit too.
It's cheaper.
Bourbon is cheaper.
Well,
definitely disagree with
alcohol alcohol in general is cheaper than some of the because the beer market has gone up in pricing quite a bit in the last few years, and liquor has almost stayed the same in the last 5 years.
Well, I've seen some inflationary numbers in that. I
Yeah.
think I was sharing with you the other day that like I popped into the liquor store because I usually keep a bottle of Jameson just as an easy go-to cheaper whiskey in the house, and the large bottle of Jameson, just the regular, not even Black Barrel or anything, the large bottle was $56.
That's insane.
And so, and I looked and I thought maybe it's mistagged, and I was looking and I was like, no. And then I turned around and, I always have, Buffalo Trace, Bullet, like on the other end, Bullet's kind of like my go-to, decent tasting, not super expensive, but the same size bottle of Bullet was the same price. It was actually $3 less than Jameson. I was like, fuck this. Like,
yeah, that's surprising because when you go to a whiskey bar or anything like that too, they'll charge more. For Bullet. For the glass. So.
That was for the Bullet, the bourbon, not even the whiskey. Their rye whiskey was about the same price. But yeah, to be able to grab a full bottle of Bullet, I was like, well, I guess I don't need Jameson that bad. Like now's a good time to quit.
yeah, but I definitely don't think it's cheaper by any stretch.
Yeah,
maybe it'll last longer depending on how you drink. Like I mean, I feel like if you're drinking bourbon, you're not sitting there pounding back shots of it. So
I mean, you shouldn't be.
The other night when we had the guys on from VFW and stuff like that, like I think we all had one glass.
Yeah, 1.5, let's say.
Yeah, slightly more than a finger.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think that's pretty much it because I could go more into detail on it, but I'll just save some of that for next week.
Oh,
okay. Whoa.
Teasing it a little bit there.
Teasing because I might bring a brand on next week, not a beer brand.
What you started to say, you were asking, you had a little trivia for us. You were asking the most expensive beer to make.
No. What is the hardest beer to brew? Like,
comment below if you think you know what the hardest
you'd be surprised
beer to
what
brew
it is. You'd be really surprised. Most people think they know what it is, but I didn't know this until the second year of me working in the beer industry.
Like, what do you mean by the hardest beer? Once again,
like lager, light beer, a lager, light ale, IPA.
I would say light beer. That'd be my guess.
Correct. 100% correct.
Really?
Light beer is the hardest brew.
Yeah, 'cause you're going to distill it like several times to bring the alcohol level down would be my guess.
Well, the thing is, you got to get the perfect amount of hops.
Yeah.
Perfect amount of temperature.
Yep.
Perfect amount
I've
of
done the
water.
brewery tour at Coors several times.
Yeah, and if you screw it up even a little bit, people can tell the taste.
Yeah.
Like if you do an IPA beer and you throw accidentally too much hops in, people can't tell. They can't tell at all.
Yeah, I'm not an IPA guy. I can't
the
stand
same
IPAs.
here. But if you do a lager, same difference. Lager, you can screw up the batch a little bit, and they'll still bottle it, and there's still all that.
Yeah, but you're right. I mean, ingredients and processes to achieve a lower calorie and alcohol content while maintaining a palatable flavor and body. A feat that many brewers find difficult to consistently replicate.
Yep, it's hard.
Well, that makes sense why there's more craft breweries out there than light beer breweries.
Yeah,
right. Yeah,
and it has to be a longer process. Believe it or not, it's a longer process.
Yeah,
Of
I mean, because you're gonna have to, like David said, you're repeating that process
Yeah,
almost
correct.
multiple times in order to get it down. So good job.
I've done the tour.
Yep.
I did the Miller tour out in California too, Irwindale. I'm sure you drove past it. Like you can smell it when you're going by there. Oh, and come to think of it, I did the Budweiser tour when it was
down in Dayton or whatever.
Not here in California. It'll come back to me, but it's in the valley. They used to have Busch Gardens out there right next to it, a little amusement park, but it like shut down in like the late 80s or mid 80s or something. But so I've done all those brewery tours, but the Coors one's really interesting because like the thing about Coors is they're definitely a beer company, but they're actually a logistics company, and they talk about that like their beer. This is your competition, my man. You should know
I did
this.
not know that. We go back and forth being Coors. We literally we try to take each other's signs down in the market. It's kind of fun to watch.
They're a logistics company, and like when you're doing their tour, they talk about that in that they deliver particularly Coors Light. Like in order to be a distributor and sell it, you have to be able to transport it it's never warm unless
Yes.
on the other end somebody has left it out somewhere, but it's cold from the point of when it's filtered all the way to the point when you drink it. So that's kind of their novelty.
Right.
The Blue Mountains, you always know like when it's cold, but they talk about them being a logistics company because it goes on the rail cars, it has to be refrigerated. It goes into trucks, it has to stay refrigerated all the way to the cooler and how it gets out there. So it's kind of interesting.
I was going to say, then let's say, don't go buy it at Walmart then, because they leave it on
They
pallets.
stack it.
Yeah, they stack it
yeah.
in the back. And then, I
Yeah.
mean, like some of these, like part of my job, I have to watch for code dates in stores and stuff, and track different brands for different code dates. And if something gets like 2 or 3 weeks out, we have to report it, and then either our boss would make the call to pick it up and like
So
exchange
it's not
it.
stale or whatever.
Yes.
Why do you suppose there's that much control over it?
Because this one thing, I think it's the state, and then also Miller Coors, because Miller, believe it or not, Miller Lite and Coors Light are actually the same company, but we distribute Miller Lite. Another distributor does.
Different, yeah.
But they like to watch their beers, and we have to report to them constantly about.
Yeah, but so why the reporting in terms of the dates?
Because they don't want it. They don't want anything outdated in the.
I know, but what happens when it becomes outdated?
It's non-sellable.
And when it's non-sellable, what happens to it?
They lose profit.
And so, but what physically happens to it at that point?
Throw it out.
You can't just throw it out.
Oh,
there's another name for it. It's called hazardous waste.
Okay.
So one of the biggest factors in loss during COVID was, ironically, and this is probably, it's funny, is I know a little bit of this data, but 2020 alcohol sales were record. They sold more alcohol that year because people are home getting drunk,
Yeah,
right?
it was actually the last increase, and it's dropped steadily since then.
Exactly. But the other factor with that offset all the loss because all the beer that was sitting out, it was St. Patty's Day when everything shut down. So, distributors and bars and restaurants everywhere were all stocked up. All that stuff had to be disposed of as hazardous waste. You can't just dump it down the drain and put it in the sewage because all that beer. Imagine that undrank beer that went bad had to be disposed of as hazardous waste. It couldn't just be like drank or thrown away or anything. Is that wild?
Well, and we could get ready to move to the next topic, but that's another aspect too. While we talk about how unhealthy the country is, there's also a movement of less drinking.
That's what I was going to bring up next week is about the less drinking, because a lot of beer companies, believe it or not, so that's one of the percentages why it's dropping. A lot of the culture is changing from they were drinkers. Now everybody's drinking non-alcoholic to 0.0 beers that are coming out.
Yeah, I just read something actually today when I was researching that. It was that less people were drinking, and that's why beer companies and different companies were starting to steer towards creating non-alcoholic beverages. Which I thought that was like Pepsi.
Yeah, water. Water.
Well, and believe it or not, I'll bring in
There's something that tastes like shit, but it's alcohol free.
Let's go.
Well, I'll bring in a bottle of non-alcoholic liquor. Did you every guy see that yet?
Also called water.
Yeah, that sounds ridiculous.
What before we leave the beer topic, since we have an upcoming field trip where we're going out of the country. Are you guys familiar with splitting the G?
I'm not.
I've not heard of that terminology before.
Splitting the G. Well, so we're going to be in Ireland.
Mm-hmm.
So did you know that when you when you take your first drink of Guinness from a fresh pint, you need to do the perfect swallow. Now, I do know a girl that does the perfect swallow, but that's completely off topic here. You guys are supposed to laugh at that.
I get it.
Okay.
Because it was kind of funny.
Yeah.
It was funny.
It's great.
Everybody in the audience is out
they're
there
laughing over
laughing.
Like if you thought that was hilarious.
Yeah, just like
if you're
it all
still
out.
rolling, comment that you're still laughing out loud. LMAFO.
If you're a girl with the perfect swallow. Anyway, Instagram. Anyway, so yeah, no, you have to split the G. So the perfect first drink of Guinness. This is the game we're playing, by the way, when we're there. So
you got to let us know when we go there, because I could get us a private tour. You have to give us the dates.
All right, go ahead.
All right.
We don't need a tour.
No, we're going to do a tour. Yeah.
I will not be doing a Guinness factory tour.
You wouldn't want to do the factory tour?
It does not sound that intriguing to me.
We can do a factory tour. You can just do a normal tour.
I can tour a Guinness bottle from every pub along the way. That'll be my tour. I'll tell you.
I want to do the Jameson.
I'll tell you how the consistency is across the taste of all of them.
We're gonna do Jameson,
Yes.
and we're also gonna do Bushmill as well because we'll be up near Belfast for the first part of the trip. But anyway, so splitting the G. That's
it's the perfect swallow, huh?
the perfect swallow.
Yeah.
So
So the challenge is to drink the Guinness in your first gulp, so that the line between the remaining beer and the foam on the top bisects the letter G in Guinness. So what, it has to be like at that cross point where the G tops off?
yeah,
when
you've
you're
seen a
done?
Guinness glass before, right?
Yeah.
So in pint-sized glass. So yeah, your first swallow, then the line should be right through the middle of the G. That's the
Interesting.
perfect swallow.
And why does that make that the perfect swallow? What is it about that?
If you don't do it correctly the first time, you have to start over, refill the glass.
Interesting.
That's I don't know. I figured that'd be a fun game to play. We can get really tanked that way.
Ed was going to be fucked up fast.
Splitting the G, finding the G, finding the correct spot on the G.
Yeah.
So we're gonna go to Ireland and
Find the
shop
G.
it. I'm actually
split it.
excited with Scotland. There's like a ton of distilleries up there that I'm gonna try to reach out and see. I'm more of, like I said, I've kind of crossed over to that whiskey and bourbon aspect of things. Like
I get you.
beer just doesn't do it for me, but I will drink a Guinness while in Ireland.
I think
That's
I think it's.
I know I couldn't give a fuck about drinking a Guinness here, but over there it's different there.
It's funny though, because when I was a kid, I remember all my uncles all drank Guinness. Every single one of them. I mean, they were all
Put
from
some hair on your chest.
Yeah, it's like the thing to drink. Now, less and less people drink it. I don't ever see Guinness really. I mean, I don't hang out at Irish pubs either.
Go to Sully's up here. You'll see a bunch of Guinness drinkers
I'm
there.
sure.
Black
Now,
and-
I have had my few Irish car bombs.
oh yeah, yeah.
So I guess I have drinking plenty of Guinness in that. In
How
fact,
about black and tans? Have you seen that? So,
Yeah,
I mean, you would
yeah.
know from being in a bar and everything. But yeah, those were really big, like early 2000s. And those kind of tapered off a little bit. Again, unless you're
same thing with
in a
Irish
pub.
car bombs. You have to be a real man to drink an Irish car bomb. Fucking, especially like 17 of those.
Oh,
Dude, we used to go to this bar in Kansas State, and my buddy Jake and I were trying to compete and see how many we could do. And this whole big ass bar was like just lined up with them. It was drop one. I think I got to like 16, and my buddy got to 19, and I'd never vomited so much in my life. Like it was like, you know, the movies when like somebody throws up on, and it like is like a steady stream for like 20 seconds. I felt like that. That's what it was like.
bar for Rama.
It was not fun. Second worst puking experience of my life.
All right.
All right, let's move on to the next topic, David. I know you've got a couple, so
Okay. Yeah.
let's see what you got.
I'll go.
Evan, is that the only one you have? By the way,
No, I have another one. I was going to talk about.
No, we don't let out the secret. If you want to hear what Evan has to say, like, subscribe, and share.
Yeah,
Right.
We'll do it next week, or I'll bring it up next week.
Yeah,
Right?
guys. Special
we'll see.
as we get ready to move forward too. We're about 3 away from 2,700 followers, so we appreciate those that are
Thank you,
following.
guys.
And please subscribe to the channel, share the channel if you think something's funny, and even if you don't, it doesn't cost you anything. What better way to just support a couple of bros doing not a whole lot other than talking into mics?
Yeah. Hook us up. Well, I think this next topic, I mean, we all sort of have a little bit of this in common. And I think that, you know,
Talk about penises.
we're going to talk about dicks and balls and what to do with them. So want to talk a little bit about line dancing or just dancing in general. And let me tell you this, if you're a single guy out there, or even if you're a married guy out there and you think you're too manly for dancing, well, you're not. Shut the fuck up. Dance. End of story. Next topic.
Wow.
I mean, I will say, so my wife and I got into the line dance. First of all, we used to go to the local bar. It's the biggest bar in Medina County, really. It's got the most space and biggest dance floor and pool tables. It's got everything. Thirsty Cowboy. And we would go there, and we would be the folks that, after we got annihilated at about 1:15, you'd hear the wobble. And I was like, I can fuck with that. And we'd go on the dance floor. But when we were down in Savannah, Georgia, we were at this line dancing bar on the Strip, and we saw him do the church clap. And like, if you've never line danced and you see like a really well done church clap line dance where everybody's kicking to the ceiling and like clapping on beat and everybody's like into it, like you're like, what the hell did I just walk into? Like, it feels like stomp the yard in this place. You know?
Yes.
So we're like, we should really start to learn this because this is maybe then it'll be something to do. So we just randomly came to Thirsties on a Wednesday. This was still when Victoria was teaching. And
Good times.
And I was like, you know what? I could do this. Like, let's just try to learn a couple of dances. That way we could at least, come out and do something. And it become like a date night for us. We would go out up every Wednesday, learn the new dances when they would do lessons. Patty became the teacher, which I liked because while I like to listen to old country, I don't necessarily like to dance to all of the old country. So she brought in some hip hop dances and things like that. And now like line dancing is like a fad like no other. Between TikTok, YouTube, everything that's out there. And there's some line dancing out there it's fun and anybody could do it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
I was trying to think of one that is one of the bigger hits right now that I was going to pull up just to show some of the people that maybe not witnessed it before. But anybody can learn this. We have 70-year-old women that are there every Wednesday night, and we have 70 college girls that are there every night. Like it's really become a thing where you kind of have a lot of different people meeting. And you're right. If you were single, it's a great way to meet new people because everybody in that community kind of talks. Everybody gets along with each other for the most part. You have your cliques and stuff that develop, and you have your in with the old out or in with the new, out with the old clubs that continue to kind of refresh the bar as more people come in and some leave. But we did it every Wednesday and Saturday for almost, I think, 2 years before I kind of got burnt out of it for a little bit, and we just started getting back into it again. Evan, you don't line dance. Why not?
I used to line dance a lot.
What?
These are lies, folks.
No, these are
Please
not lies.
comment if you think Evan is lying about
I
line
used to
dancing.
line dance, but the only thing was that I used to do line dancing, ballroom dancing, but my ex-girlfriend was a dance instructor. So she would, that's one of the main reasons I don't line dance anymore because it brings up a lot of bad memories of her.
Wait,
So,
what?
yeah.
These
So,
are lies. Oh, don't we have a guest coming on the
yeah. Do we?
podcast about that Evan knows?
Who?
We do actually.
Why?
We'll save that maybe for 2
Oh,
or 3
who is
episodes.
it?
in
Is
the
it a
future.
girl? Oh my God.
We don't have girls on our
I was gonna say.
podcast here. Why?
Oh, okay, I was just saying.
I was trying to. What is the name of that desk?
Well, there's
There's a lot of people
Desperado,
I
which
know you
is a
guys bring
pretty.
in.
Yeah, I was trying to find a video of it that would really kind of show off the.
Well, try to look up for a video on "Happy to Me" by Russell Dickerson.
What are you talking about?
Is there a purpose of me looking this
Because
up?
the people that have been doing those line off that song, that line dancing off that song, have been some very interesting.
Tell me what you mean by that. Well, I don't know why I can't all of a sudden not find a freaking video for this Descarada. That's another thing. There's a lot of line dances to Pitbull.
Yes.
I mean, his music is fun and very danceable, no matter what
It
your
is.
style of dance is.
It is. It's really. I mean,
Yeah, that's effective recycling in my mind because, like Fuego, for instance, I think that song is from like 2004.
yeah, it's not it's not a fresh song. I think people just realize that like certain things have a hit to them, and then they really blow them up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, so dance is an interesting thing. Like dance is a language of its own, and any type of dance. I mean, there has been dance in humanity since there was humanity in one way or the other, and no matter what culture, what language, or anything, like it's just body movement, right? And then it gets put to music. You got all these different types of dance, style of dance. We're obviously subject matter experts in line dance. We spent a lot of time, doing that. But the reason why, we are a man's podcast here, and I encourage everybody to kind of get involved in dance. For me, it was kind of a rather interesting thing. Like my parents are polar opposites of people. Dad was military. Dad was like, you're going to get in school, you're going to have good grades, you're going to exercise, you're going to do sports. And my mother was an artist and a professor, and she's like, you're going to have art in your life. And so the painting and the sculpture, like none of that stuff stuck, because just didn't really care for it. But one day it's like I heard somebody say like, oh yeah, this form of this dance is a really elegant art form, and my ears kind of perked up. And then went to my mom and said, my parents split up when I was pretty young, so I had 4 days a week at dad's house and 3 at mom's. And so that Friday morning when I showed up at mom's and I said, from now on, my art is dance. And she just kind of gave me that look like, you little motherfucker. Like, just like, okay, that's your, and so it sounds sweet. Like, oh God, dance. It's just, going into junior high, I just realized that, girls like guys who can dance. So you better fucking figure this out, because you can be at the junior high dance and be in the back, like, against the wall, just leaning up, trying to look cool. And meanwhile, Freddie out there, is on the floor with the girls. And like, that guy fucking had armpit hair, like when he was 9, and probably had his first kid at like 11. like Freddie who could dance was getting it. So I was like, I'm going to be like Freddie.
Yeah, I will say that dancing definitely was a great way to like just meet women, introduce yourself to women, like be able to like, because it's non-threatening for the most part.
Yeah, sure.
People can just be like, hey, you want to dance? And then especially in line dancing or in swing dancing and things like that. I mean, you see swing dancers, they switch partners like left and right, everybody's willing to dance with just about anybody. But I figured we pull up a little line dance just so everybody could kind of see.
With one person?
Yeah, I know it sucks, but you know what? This is one of your favorite line dances, David.
It is. I do like that one.
As long as you got that ball. And I can't believe it. White girl got some ass. I want to
I'm trying to figure out where that is.
That is in North Carolina, I think. Oh wait, no, it's called Mavericks.
Oh, it's it's Mavericks in Buda. That's Buda, Texas.
Interesting.
It's south of Austin. Yeah, I've been there.
Yeah, and this is a line dance where if you've seen the line dancing that takes place, it is a twerkathon by the time they're halfway through the song. But there's a lot of different line dancing out there. I definitely think that people should at least check it out. It's funny too, like if you look at the crowd at Thirsties, like if you saw those people walking around, you'd be like, they don't line dance, but they do.
They do.
And they're there all night.
So the first time I went to that place, you mentioned Victoria earlier. Victoria lives like 20 minutes away from that place. So
really?
First time I went there was with her.
Is it a line dance bar though?
It's
a lot
more,
of Texas is more two-step kind of.
It's a country swing, two-step, West Coast swing, but they've brought more line dance there. Line dance sort of hit like a catapult, I think, probably a little bit before COVID, but definitely during COVID and with TikTok coming along. We definitely saw, the makeup of the line dancers really get diverse very quickly. Like, because you mostly would just see country bars, which are predominantly white people and like middle and late age, that, all the way up to the 60s and 70-year-olds and whatnot. And, there's even in that makeup, say, going back 10, 15 years, I've been line dancing since not quite since the 90s, but I guess actually, I learned the electric slide in the 90s. So I could say I've been line dancing since the 90s, but like it's been pretty awesome to see, the diversity. I mean, because I said, country bars, and you just think a bunch of old white people, but like there's people from all walks of life, all colors, all beliefs, all politics, and all of that just really gets checked at the door and nobody really cares.
Yeah.
And the same thing. So coming up really soon, I'm going to be out with a group out in California at Stagecoach, and I'll be out there with the Word in Motion group, and it's the biggest line dance group, I think maybe on the planet. Like they're massive, but
what is it called?
Word in Motion. So one thing that the one thing that Anne-Marie, who is the president of that group, said in a meeting here last week, as she was talking about like the timeless nature of dance and then specific in line dance. And you know, she said this as everybody had to go through, and like the leadership, and then also the media folks that are involved, you know, like, hey, say your name, your age, where you're from, where you dance, all that kind of stuff. And like, there were all these people that just stopped and was like, oh my God, I gotta say how old I am. And, you know, and,
dang it.
But I mean, there's people in this group from age 19 all the way up to in their 70s. And the one thing she said is that, you know, when you're dancing, like none of that really matters. Like, you know, your identity becomes, you know, the people that you're around, the people to your left and your right, and the dance itself becomes your identity while you're in there. It's kind of like there's a real elegant way that she put it, and I'm butchering, paraphrasing how she put it, but just, I guess, kind of drawing on my own experience. It's very true. Line dancing is, I think every guy who is not a natural dancer probably has had that moment with their partner where they've gone and said, hey, honey, I want to learn dance. And the guy's like, fuck, they have beer there, right? Like, so many guys go through that, but, and then you're intimidated because then you show up and you're seeing these professionals like, holy shit, like these guys know what they're doing, right? And you're like, I don't know, like maybe if I get enough, you know, beer in me or enough, you know, whatever, I can get out there and do it. But the thing I will say about line dancing in particular is, you know, it's just you. You're not leading anybody else. You're just following along and everything. And there's definitely a camaraderie and a community there, particularly if you grab a couple friends and you're all new at it.
Yeah.
So because you're going to figure it out together. You're just going to get right in the middle there, and you're going to be trying to, you know, is left foot, right foot, this, that, what's a weave, you know, what's a sailor step, and all
Coaster
this
step.
Yeah, what are all these things? And, you know, it just, you know, it's frustrating, it's fun. And then, you know, after you pick up a couple of basic dances, it just sort of clicks. And then, you know, but by default, you end up in this community of people that just walk the same path that you did. They just figured it out like you did. So on a lower level, you know, it's almost like the military. Like day number 1, you ain't shit. Yeah. And if you need a reminder, I'm going to give you another one in 3 minutes that you ain't shit. But, you know, you all ain't shit together. And then all of a sudden you start to become shit. Then you have that, you know, camaraderie. And it's not even necessarily, you know, you'll shit talk between branches of military, but at the end of it, it's like, okay, it's just the government. You may not really give a fuck about the government, but you give a fuck about the dude to your left and the chick to your right, you know, whomever. I'm trying to be a little more politically correct there. It's not just dudes to your left and right, but
yeah, it's not just a bunch of dudes.
Yeah, I think dance is very much that same way, right? You just, a community comes out of it. Like, I don't know. And as somebody who's been doing it a long time, I think it's, for me, it's interesting. I call it the freshman class. So like, you know, you and your wife of several years ago, like those people walk in like to whatever bar, USA, every other day. And you kind of see that. And it's like, they're going to drop out because they come in and maybe they're just there to drink and just dick around with it. But then you see some of the people, it's like, okay, they're going to make it to sophomores and juniors eventually. But
because you get addicted to it,
you do,
know? And then you're learning it on your own. There's enough out there, YouTube, and that's the one thing too. Is my wife and I always said, like, finding the right teacher is a big portion. Like when you first get into it, because some people teach so fast, it's hard to pick up as a new person. But then some people like you just click.
You do.
You know, Patty was that for us. And she does a great job. So make sure you look her up on YouTube. But
the last thing I just want to say on line dance is just kind of a fun, weird little thing. And I got to plug one of my own videos too in the process of it. But I've been on dance floors in nearly every state in the U.S. Like I've been to almost every country bar. Like I said, you pulled up that video. I knew I recognized it, just couldn't place it. But I've been to a lot of them, and like line dance, sure, you got maybe different bars may have like different choreographed dances that go to different songs and whatever. But generally speaking, if you're a regular line dancer and you know 50 dances to 50 different songs, there's going to be some blend. Like, you know, if you hop on a plane, go to Arizona, you're going to encounter at least half the dances you know are going to be similar to what they do there. Last year, I took a trip to Germany. Didn't go there to go dancing, but, you know, circumstances, I changed my itinerary around and everything, but I ended up in the one and only country bar in all of Germany that has dancing anyway. And at one point in my life, I was fluent in German. I am no longer, because I don't practice it. I don't use it. So like I can probably speak like an elegant second grader at that level. But I will tell you what, I walked into this country bar, and when I walked in, the song American Kids from Kenny Chesney had just come on. And so I literally walked in and like had my GoPro in my hand and a couple other things. And like I set those down and walked right out on the dance floor. And it was the, like you see the scene in the movie, like somebody walks in and the music stops. It was the opposite of that. Like the music didn't stop, the music stayed. But like, here comes a guy who I think I might've been taller than everybody that was in there. And it was a mix. There were, 17 and 18-year-olds, and then there were 70 and 80-year-olds, but they never seen me. I walk in, cowboy hat, and everybody is looking like, what is this guy doing? What is he doing? It's like, and I walked right out and same dance, did the dance, and then immediately like that, like every person in the place wanted to meet me, wanted to talk to me. Where are you from? Where you been our whole lives? Like all of this stuff. So immediate like connection with 90 strangers I had, never seen before ever, like halfway across the planet. Like,
well, that's a great way to look at it too. If you do like to travel, like when you travel to a new place, even if it's in the United States, like if you're just going to Florida, or if you're going to Texas, California, Indiana, Chicago, all these different places. If you learn how to line dance, there's always a line dancing bar just about everywhere, that you can find on your travels. And you're right. It's something that you could go do anywhere. You can't go do everything. You could be a great snowboarder.
Right. Yeah.
You have to go certain times a year to go to certain places. There's always line dancing year round at all these different
places. There's no snowboarding in Texas.
Yeah. And it's funny because you mentioned like, oh, people come up to you and it's like, we went down to Florida and Stampede's down there. Great bar. Love that place. And, you start line dancing to a couple of songs and they're like, dang, you guys know that one? Like the choreographer, actually, this is his home place, and then you start talking and chatting it up and they're like, where are you guys from? Oh, they've been up there. Oh, we've seen this person's TikTok videos. Or you go to Chicago and then we went up there and randomly like 10 people come like, hey, come sit with us. Like they knew my wife from TikTok, right? So they're like, come sit with us, you guys. And
yeah.
So like that community is just wholesome just about anywhere you go, which is nice. And then even a lot of bars, I mean, not all of them, but some of them are like, we're lucky that our DJ, he'll play it, he'll notice that if a big group comes from a different bar, like we just had the group from Michigan come up the other day.
Yeah.
Like he'll play some music that they know to make them kind of get onto the dance floor and get moving.
Mix it up.
Yeah. And then it's also sometimes there's a different dance to a song that half the dance floor is one dance, the other half to... But everybody gets along, and that's usually at a point in time where like, oh, I like that dance better, actually. And then you start trying to learn it. And yeah, I agree. Line dancing is definitely a great way to meet new people, to have something to do wherever you're at in the world. I mean, shoot, friends of ours are going to do a line dance cruise in Greece next year. You mentioned Germany. I know that there was a line dance instructor that did like a couple of different things in Europe, because Europe is actually a big line dancing area.
Oh, massive. Yeah. Italy, France.
Yeah.
There's a couple. There's annually, I can't recall it offhand, but are you thinking of Mark Paulino?
Yeah, him and that other dude, Landon or whatever.
Yeah, Landon Purvis.
Yeah.
There's, I just can't think of the big one. There's an annual one in Italy. It's in the southern eastern side, like kind of between, like you can almost hit Spain and France and Italy in like the same trip. I just can't think of the town out there, but yeah, annually, like it's line dancing Mecca for Europe. They get something like 1,000 plus, somewhere around 1,000 dancers there for that competition. Like that's more than they get here at like Fort Wayne or any of those big ones that they do here. Like they get 1,000 people in the hall they do, and it's massive. Like I think they used to build airplanes in that hall that they do this thing. Like,
yeah, that's huge.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've seen a couple of those. So yeah, awesome topic. I got something to bring up, and while we're talking about bringing some generations together, I saw this on the internet, and this is a couple of months old, but I saw this video on the internet the other day, and it kind of brought back to like some of the things that we've talked about as far as the difference in like people, as far as our youth today and how they take things. And this is the halftime speech by Rick Pitino. And it's funny because when I first heard it, I was like, this can't be real. And Pitino's like one of the greatest coaches of all time when it comes to college hoops. Everybody knows him from his years at Kentucky and his multiple championships. But he is coaching a basketball team, which in today's day and age, coaching a basketball or any youth sports team of 16 to 20-year-old, especially that are very successful, in order to get to a program that he's at, they can't. It's interesting to hear the way he talks to them, and I feel like for many of them, I'd love to see their faces because this is probably the first time they've been talked to like this in their entire lives. They've probably had everything kind of handed to them.
Yeah.
So here I'm going to play this real quick so you can
dig in and be a basketball player. Dig in. Every time you miss a shot, your game deflates. We don't care about your missed shots. Play defense. You guys keep blowing opportunity upon opportunity upon opportunity. You're like children with bad things happening. Instead of digging in and be tougher, you wilt. Where is your toughness? Where have you guys been raised that you're so weak mentally that you just give up when something doesn't go right for you? Don't you know what adversity is all about? That's the game of life, not the game of basketball. You don't get down when things go wrong. You dig in and get tougher. Your whole life's gonna be adversity. Learn how to deal with it.
So I saw this and I saw it on TikTok originally, so I just pulled that up on YouTube to see. But that like essentially describes like everything that's important and that youth need to be taught today, because I do feel like that's an issue, and it's not just with the young people. I think it's just in generations in general. Yesterday was probably one of the worst days I've had in I can't even tell you how long. Extremely frustrating day, and my wife's like, she got upset about something that just made it 10 times worse. So like, I'm like, I just need to chill. Like, I just need to be by myself. Like, I don't feel like talking to anybody. I just need to like get through this and realize that everything will be fine in the morning when I wake up. But I don't know that everybody has that grit anymore, or not. And it's not everybody, because not everybody used to, but I do think that's something that's missing from society these days, where, one of our friends will talk about trauma dumping, right? Like, you don't need to dump everything that's going wrong with you today on somebody else. Sometimes you just got to sit there and realize like there's enough good going on in your life that one day doesn't make that up, or one incident doesn't. How bad could it be? Like, you could be murdered. You could have got pepper sprayed on the side of the road like our friend Casey did today.
Oh my God.
But I say that in a sense, and people can say, oh, you have it, I've had it harder, or you see things all the time. Like, we had a short go kind of crazy because the discussion I had where my wife talking about, it'd be tough to live on $100,000. They're like, oh, what world do you guys live in? I do this. And it's like, I'm not saying that people don't have it tough and that it's not very difficult to move forward, but at the same point in time, like, there's always a way to look up at something and say it can be better, instead of just like moping and like being done with everything. But I'm interested to see what you guys think about that speech, because he kind of lit into those dudes.
You're looking at me, guys.
Yeah, I want to know what you would do, because I would have.
Well, the funny thing is,
what do you think Evan would do if his boss came to him?
No.
The problem is, Evan, you talk about being diabetic. You talk about how
busy
busy you are. You talk about wanting to make money, but then you go out there and you're upset. You can't take your 30 minutes of nap time in between your job visits.
Do that.
This is Evan's alarm going off, by the way.
Oh no, fucking no. Those speeches I got a lot in high school.
Shit, I just realized I forgot. I have something for the podcast, and
you left it at home.
I did not bring it. I meant it. Yes. Anyway.
Well, no.
Next podcast, I have something really good.
Those speeches I got when I did football. I was a linebacker.
Yeah.
So our coaches would get into us all the time.
But
like
I mean,
that.
you're not in high school anymore playing football. I'm saying if your boss came to you and laid into you like that,
I would just
Evan, all you do is complain about not selling enough beer. There's not enough people buying beer. Every excuse why people aren't buying beer. What the fuck is wrong with you? Why are you just sitting there? Why don't you make something happen to yourself? Why don't you go in there with your head held high and tell them how many cases of beer do I need to get you today, because you need it, because you're going to sell it, and here's how you're going to sell it. Like, what would
things like that don't happen in beer industry.
Oh.
Yeah, well, we
do they happen like that in the porn industry?
Yeah, not deep enough. No. For me is no. It's just if my boss came into me, I'll look at my numbers, see what I need to focus on, and then move on. That's it. I could care less.
So you wouldn't complain about it?
No, I won't give a fuck about it. It's a job. It's a job, and I will grit my teeth, look at my numbers, look at the accounts that need to be focused on, and move the fuck on. People don't. People.
But don't you look at it and like, okay, well, what can I do to actually raise these numbers? Like, do you look at your numbers and be like, I'm impacting these?
Yes.
Like, or do you look at it as like, oh, it's because they're this location or this location?
I look at location. I look at what territory it's in because I cover all different territories.
Right. And you cover all kinds of different products, right?
Correct.
So do you ever go in there and be like, hey, you're not selling any of this stuff because frankly, people out here aren't buying it. Like,
Correct.
this is the stuff that you need to do. Let's build a big design. Let's create a backboard for it. Let's give out some free stuff and let's pitch some stuff.
No,
this
we
weekend.
the way I go in, and it was like, okay, you sell Miller, you sell Miller Light, Miller High Life, excuse me, but you need to sell more Miller Light, just in general. So
why do they need to sell more though? Maybe that's not their demographic.
if it's not their demographic, then what we do, well, I'll have.
Do you count it as like lost sale? Like you're like
No.
Gaining market share.
No,
in
no,
that area?
I will try to build that brand in that area if it's possible. Because certain areas like East Cleveland, all cheap stuff. Ice House Edge, Milwaukee's Best. But we will always try to bring in new products.
Which that surprises me too. Would you believe that? That it's all cheap product being sold even in a ghetto? Because I feel like they're willing to drive an Escalade on welfare. They'd be willing, like, and I'm not just saying that about this specific area or specific race, but I'm just saying, like, in general, I feel like today's day and age, people are willing to pay more for nicer things, even if they don't have it.
I think that in this particular regard, and it's not East Cleveland, so we'll leave this nameless, at least for the podcast. But so I know somebody who has a liquor store that is in Brunswick. Let's say nicer than East Cleveland.
Depending on what part of East Cleveland. I mean, there are some nice parts of East Cleveland.
No, there are not. There are no nice parts of East Cleveland. So, but anyway, I digress. Where the liquor stores are, there are no nice areas. But so I can.
You guys can come with me in the ghetto if one. No,
I've been trying to for like a year. My guy.
I don't know. I want to get you. I want to get you on a week where I'm at large bulk stores.
Okay.
I want to.
But that's not what he wants to do. He wants to go into the basement of these little tiny mom and pop shops.
Either or. Like at this point, I know at this point you've not even asked your boss if I can come to work with you. So
I've asked my boss. Don't worry, and he keeps giving me the. I'll talk to my other bosses about it. We'll see what we can do.
Give me his name and number. I will talk to him myself. But anyway, back on point here is that somebody who has a distribution point in Brunswick, nicer than East Cleveland, they sell Steel Reserve mostly. They sell, I forget what the shitty gas station vodka is.
No, I know. There's a bunch of them.
Yeah. We were just having this conversation just like 2 weeks ago. And we were talking about that like they have a regular customer base that comes in and they're just getting, so I think the answer to your question there is that, well, first of all, there aren't many of the people residing in East Cleveland that are still driving Escalades now because, an Escalade's $130,000 for an Escalade today. It's not like it was in the 90s where you could get them with spinners on them, but
so cool.
Yeah. But yeah, so that's an image thing because you can be seen driving that car and that's an image as opposed to if you're just, an alcoholic and have a flask of something in your pocket that you're drinking all day long. Like, that's not, I don't think, I don't think that that's there. If you stop and think like when all the cool vodkas had been coming out, like in the 90s and
Sky
2000s.
Vodka.
Well, Sky, I wouldn't even say is a cool vodka. I would say more like the,
because I remember Sky was one of our big ones when I was a bartender.
After Sky, that's your well vodka. But I'm talking about like your what's the
Kettle One?
Kettle One. Yeah, I was trying to think of Kettle One and what's the other. I stopped drinking, and then Tito's came in and they were like, "Well, here's an awesome vodka that's made right here in the States in Texas," and we've kind of limited them, but yeah, I mean, you're going. When you're buying a bottle of Kettle One, like if you're a bottle service kind of guy and you're like, going for a name brand, you're like, oh yeah, we got bottles of Kettle One. We got this, we got that. That's sort of like a status thing. Nobody's bragging about getting bottles of Sky at a table. Like,
yep. I 100% agree on that one.
So I was looking for something, speaking of cheap beer, and when I was in like early 2000s, like the cheapest beer was like everybody had Natty Ice.
Yeah.
Natty Light,
Yep.
Bush beer, which funny because Bush beer is now like a premium beer,
Yeah.
even though it's still considered like it's priced
Yeah.
less.
It's cool though.
It's cool when they made Bush Light Peach.
Yep. The cool can, and then
Busch
the
Light
cans,
Apple,
and
cans
the cans are collectible-ish. So
I was trying to find a beer that I drank when I was in high school.
Schlitz malt liquor,
right here. So Blatz beer.
Oh my lord!
So
that's actually still out and about.
It's out of stock here. So when I was 17, I had this dude that I used to hang out with. He actually owned a schoolhouse out in like Wayne County.
Mhm.
I mean, like legit schoolhouse. Like he had a half pipe in there and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Bunch of skater dudes. They used to drink Blatz beer. It was $4.99 for a case. I mean, that's a case of beer for $5.
There's been times where a gallon of gasoline has cost more than that.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was like, and it's funny now because like you can't buy a case of beer for less than $20 for the most part anymore. And I was like, man, if only Blatz beer was around, I would love to show up to a party and see if like people would actually drink it. But
That's awesome.
Gotta love it.
Well, I like the, going back to the Rick Pitino video, like there's, he's really speaking to, let's say, the 10% in that group that, and the 10% in that group are the ones that have those same exact conversations in their own head. Like
maybe.
I mean, well, yes and no. I
didn't watch the game. I didn't see like what led to it. If it is speaking to the 10%, like that's piss poor leadership in my opinion. I think you never have a group meeting where you talk to 10% of the team.
I agree with that, but what I'm saying though is that 10% of that group there, they've already had that same conversation in their own head and they're already working on it. And then I would say like the next probably 50% of them need that in order to inch closer to that 10%. And then whatever's left after that, what's 10, 60. So the other 40% are probably there. He's speaking to them saying, do you really even deserve to be here? Like, is this really for you? Like that kind of thing. Like, because that, I'm just throwing some numbers out there and how I would think the makeup of the team is there, because it's not a team of 30 LeBrons sitting there. Of course, right?
Of course.
Like it'd be a little different. Now, if he was, if that was an NBA team, like, so if he's having that conversation with the Lakers, that'd be a different story than
I'm sure that conversation needs to be had with some of these NBA teams though, because they're even worse. They're making hundreds of millions of dollars. Like it's crazy the level of contracts have got to do in professional sports. We got a whole podcast on that. That's insane.
I don't like the pay they go because they play so poorly. Well, they play their hearts out in college, in high school, but when they start getting paid and making the money, it doesn't seem like they put as much effort.
Some.
I mean, that's not all. I mean, you look at a guy like LeBron. I really can't stand the guy for my own reasons. But at the same point in time, that dude puts in more work at the court and on his body than probably any other NBA player because he wants to continue to be the best.
Right. He's fighting the clock and fighting his age at this point.
Yeah. And you look at a Jordan, you look at some of the greats that are the greats, one, because they're natural talent, but two, they were willing to outwork everybody.
Yeah.
And I think that is where, Pitino is kind of going into that conversation and he's talking. And I think that's a conversation that needs to be had with kids at 12 years old, and not just in sports, like just in life in general. Like when you have a student in your class, you should be able to talk to him. A parent should be able to have that conversation with their kid. Like, you were just half-assing it. Like, you need to suck this up and get through it. We've become so soft as a society that as a parent, if I tell my son, like, hey, you need to get your shit squared away. You got to put in some extra time either at the gym or on the field if you want to go ahead and move up and you want to become a better athlete and you want to actually start or you want to play. But instead, we tell him, you know what, let me talk to the coach. And maybe I can talk to coach and get you onto the field more. And we bypass the whole, you need to work harder. Like, my dad had no problem telling me when I was 14, 15 years old, like, dude, you need to get faster and you need to get stronger. Like, if you want to play, like, varsity is not the same game as it is at JV, And that conversation doesn't get had. So here you are as a college basketball coach having to talk to kids like they're 15 years old, 14 years old, because nobody's ever done that. And then it goes on blast on social media and nobody's looking at it as like, hey, it's about time somebody stepped up and kind of helped these kids. I look at all the comments and they're like, I can't believe he talked to those boys that way white supremacist talking to a bunch of black kids on his basketball team. And I'm like, Jesus Christ, he's trying to get these guys squared away because probably 0 of them are going to play in the pros. He's at St. John's, right? So maybe one or two plays in the pros. The rest of them are going to go on to life.
Yep.
And if they're giving up that easy on the court, how easy are they going to give up if their boss tells them that they need to stay late and they need to work harder if they want to raise? They're going to quit and go to the next job.
The irony of all of that, and I was going to make that point, is that it's social media that has landed us here. Like, and you mentioned like the trauma dump situation, which sort of ties into this from the perspective of if you like our social media attention for the three of us anyway, like a lot of our time and attention, it's in this podcast. It's in the things that we're interested in. But if you rewind back,
66% of us at least.
1, 2.
Get the fuck out of here. Kiss my ass. I'm more like 40%.
Well,
40% of what?
I do like the fact that you use 66% because even for a dyslexic man, you can't fuck that up. It's still 66% backwards. So.
Motherfucker.
No, but so think about let's like rewind back to, you know, when social media was actually really cool, like 4 years ago, right? You know, have you ever had this conversation where like you're talking with a friend and you're like, oh man, yeah, hey, let me tell you about this really cool thing I did. And you're like, yeah, fucker, I just saw it on Instagram. You don't have to tell me about it, right? So, you know, we got ourselves into this habit of like, oh, this really cool thing happened, so let me post about it and share it with my friends. And then, you know, that has also turned into, in some forms, that's how people are communicating with each other now. They're not having conversations anymore. It's just, well, I posted it online, or, you know, I have yet to ever tell somebody who asked me a question like, hey, I posted it online, so I don't want to have this conversation. Go look at it there, because that's fucking stupid. But no, but, you know, this is sort of the thing where, you know, those that do trauma dump, and I know the person you're thinking of when you brought that up, and that is a person who trauma dumps, ironically. Like, love the guy, absolutely love the guy, but like not everything needs to be a tragedy, and also not everything has to be dumped out there. Now, some people need that as an outlet. I'm not one of those people. I know you're not. I know neither one of you guys are those people. Like you have a challenge, you have something going on. It might be a good time to like, let me internalize that. Let me sit with it. Let me figure out a way to fix it. And then, you know, in some cases, you know, I talk about like how I start my day. I go for a walk, right? When you're upset and you need to cool off.
It.
Yeah.
Let me hide it. Let me overcome it. Let me try to get through it a different way.
Right. And
then let me solve the problem.
Right. As opposed to just making it like, because now it's no longer like, for when you fall into that category, it's no longer, you're not problem solving, you're problem sharing at that point. Like generally speaking, when I ask you like, hey, how are you doing? I would like to know how you're doing, but I don't need to know all of it. I don't need to know your credit score. I don't need to know your weight for the day. I don't need to know, you know, if you did this with these people or that people.
What
or
if
anything.
my poop's a different color? Do you want to know that?
I would want to know that.
Oh, it was
actually.
green today.
Did you eat?
Mine was not. Yours was
Yours
green.
was green?
Yeah, well, that's because I bought this powder, and
Blue?
it's it's green matcha powder. I just started putting it in my coffee and all the teas I drink, and the next thing you know, my shit's green. I'm like, what the fuck?
Well,
I wanted to know that. That was interesting.
You're a little late for
St.
St. Patty's Day, but okay.
You know, that's a great point though, and I want to get back to the trauma dump. But when you talk about like when you get a bunch of guys around, they're just telling stories. Like, do you ever remember? Like if you opened up, like you had, let's say you're like in high school and you're like in the locker room and you open up your gym bag or something, you're like. And the first thing you do is like, dude, this is awful.
Oh, yeah, I've done that so many times with my football pants.
But it's funny because like those were like it's just regular banter and conversation, and it just doesn't happen anymore.
No, they'll call the FBI on you now. Yeah. Like, you farted on me?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I saw a video like that on social media, on TikTok. Somebody's bag smelled. I know what you're trying to do, you know. But you get back to the trauma dump, and you're right. It's not problem solving; it's problem sharing. I really like that, and the idea that is like, well, I don't want to talk to you if that's all you're going to talk about. Like, let's talk about anything else,
right?
And then maybe you'll forget about that one thing that's bothering you and move on from it because it's not doing you any good.
Or like, okay, dump the problem on me. Great. Because I can potentially see a solution to the situation because I'm not emotionally involved. other than you just dumping on me now. I'm feeling, you know, empathy for you and stuff. But,
Right.
you know, so, okay, you're doing this. And then here comes my suggestion for you. Cut the fucking person off. Don't ever talk to her ever again. She's fucking garbage.
Right.
As an example.
Sure.
Right. So then, okay, then it's, you know, now you have a decision to make as a friend, whether you're going to entertain that dumping again ever not, because you can see a clear solution. Fucking disconnect. Don't ever talk to her again. End of story. But enough about my trauma. No, but you know, so then, you know, okay, did this person actually, you know, take and apply that, right? Or does it take, you know, a video like this to really pound it into somebody's face? It shouldn't take that, but in some cases it might take that to really get that person to change and, you know, do something with it. And if they do, great, you've improved. If they don't, then now you know what this is you're just a continual outlet for that, for these people, which is not going to be helpful for either. It might be helpful for the dumper, but it's never going to be helpful for the dumpee.
Well, that's like, you know, there's a lot of things that pertains to, but it's like when somebody says, oh, I have a weight problem. Oh, I have a couple ideas. You could try this. Oh, I'm doing that. I'm dieting. I'm doing that. And then you're complaining about it the next week,
it's
or
not
you
working.
don't notice any changes. Or somebody says, you know, oh, I go to the gym every single day. Like, I seen you, dude. You train like, I mean, you don't even train. You just go, you know, and if that's what you're going to do, that's fine. But then don't sit here and complain that you're not getting stronger or bigger, or you're having issues.
Right.
And that can go across a bunch of different things, you know, in the industry that I'm in, as far as sales. Like, you hear people in sales complain all the time that, you know, it's harder. It's not this. The customers are doing. Well, what are you doing to overcome those objections? Like, are you working at it? Like, are you going in there scared? Are you developing yourself as a person in order to overcome these things? And if you're not, well, the problem's never going to get better.
Even if you post it on social media.
Even if you post it on social media.
Yeah.
Right. So, you know, and that's just an issue that we have today. And I think a big part of that is, and I'll be the first to admit, like, even I can get into the trap of where I'm looking something up on social media because I actually want to find out about something. Like today's the tariffs that came out from Trump. And then you like get one boring video and then all of a sudden it flips to the next one. And it's a little more entertaining. It's a little more entertaining. And then before you know it, you watch all these videos that are completely nonsense. I'm sitting here paying attention to the Shador Sanders and the NFL draft rather than researching the tariffs, which is originally what I wanted to do.
Got it.
And they got me with their fucking algorithm. But at the same
and
point,
a backpack too, apparently.
yeah, and a backpack, damn it. But at the same point in time, you know, that's obviously what social media's job is to get you trapped into an algorithm. And that's me starting out with information that's interesting to me that I'm also trying to figure out because I want to be more knowledgeable about it. Imagine all the people that just go to social media just to like
Browse.
just to browse.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Like looking up hentai cartoons while you're
The
doing a
fuck?
podcast.
I'm not looking up hentai. I'm not looking up anything right
Like
now.
and share if you want to see us put a camera up behind Evan so you can see what he's scrolling on during the
I'm
podcast.
liking that right now. Boom.
Big titty hentai.
Oh man.
Well,
But I know we were only going to try to go over 20 minutes of a section. We've kind of
We've
ventured
done it.
outside of that.
I think we have enough time for each of us to do like one subject for each person almost every time, because that's like an hour and 20 minutes for each thing.
Yeah, I agree. We can do that.
Because I got two more subjects we could talk about next week.
Oh, well, that's
Good.
exciting. Well, let's
Yeah.
plan on this being a typical Thursday thing. And if anybody's watching and he wants to join in on this, please don't hesitate. You know, the Guys Night podcast is for guys everywhere. A couple of things to announce this Sunday. We're going to have a Cashel Woodworking and another company that is from the Common Ground joining us to discuss woodworking. These three guys have taken their careers from being, you know, contractors and things like that and went into the private sector of developing their own woodworking and doing some different stuff. So we're going to have them on. So make sure you pay attention to that if you're interested in that craft at all or learning about it, seeing what goes into it. What guy doesn't like good wood?
I love some good wood.
But
whoa.
well, I don't think that's not what I meant. What his prerogatives are not the same.
Hey.
The opinions of Evan do not match the overall opinions of the Guys Night podcast, especially myself and David.
Especially having to do with wood.
And enjoying it. But also for those guys that are listening, April 24th, we're going to do a live show right down here in the basement. We're going to have the NFL draft on, maybe at 6 o'clock. We're going to get kicked off. We'll do a little mock draft for anybody that wants to join. We'll kind of go through the first round, talk about who's going to be drafted that night, drink some bourbon. It should be entertaining. Maybe we'll even eat some pizza and wings. And hell, we might even do it live on at the same point in time.
We'll do it live.
In fact, we are doing it live. I don't know why I said we might. We are absolutely doing it live. Yeah, we've got a lot going on. We've also got Nico the Dragon, Pastor David Hill, joining us later this month. I believe April 19th is when he'll be up here. You talk about a guy that lived a crazy lifestyle from, doing martial arts movies, being in martial arts, being around women, drugs, and everything else, and turning into his life around to help others as well. And we're going to hear his story. He'll be joining us with Rich from that was on earlier, like 2 months ago now. So as we continue to grow, make sure you check the link in the description. Join the Discord. During our Discord, we try to have that up during all of our shows, so anybody can pop in live and be part of it. And you also can take part in different podcast topics that we're looking to have up, suggest topics, looking to build that community so that more and more people can take part of this. Anything else from you guys tonight?
Only other thing I was going to say is it's a bummer that Jim Tressel got that lieutenant governor spot here and, not Nick Pitino. I think Nick Pitino would have made it very much more interesting.
Rick Pitino, but definitely made it more interesting.
Yeah.
And I really was hoping to spend some time on tariffs tonight because obviously that's a big thing that's going on. I don't know if you guys have anything to add to that. Maybe we could do like 10 minutes on it real quick.
I don't have anything to add to it, but I think right now it's just, obviously the stock market took a beating.
Well, after hours too. Tomorrow's going to be insane.
I think that's a good one to table for maybe either Sunday or next week, because I think we'll understand a little bit more once the media blitz is leveled out.
I think the only thing that I want to say is when it comes to these tariffs, it's incredible to the amount of people that are so against them because they think it's going to raise the price of dollars, where I would rather the tariffs get paid and less come out of my paycheck.
Yeah.
And I understand goods and services might cost more, but then again, if it creates more industry in the United States where most of this stuff gets built here, guess what? It creates competition, which then drops prices, and it's also creating American jobs. I know it's like nobody can see that far in the future because you obviously are going to have multiple different presidents over the course of the next 12, 16 years, most likely. But if somebody didn't just hate Trump and they just looked at it as like, okay, so his idea is if he first of all, we're paying higher tariffs than any of these countries are that are getting their tariffs raised to them. So you talk about trade deficit and where a lot of our debt is coming from. It's because if I let you buy this shirt off me for $5, but it costs me $2, I want to buy it back from you, right? I'm paying less. Yeah. So it's silly that we're fighting over that aspect of it. Yes, in the short term, and that's why the markets are obviously kind of taking a little hit, is because in the short term, things might cost a little bit more because we're still going to be getting stuff in from overseas. But the idea is that if we can create these manufacturing and this industry over here like it used to be, especially the steel industry, that creates jobs over here, that creates better income for over here, that creates better ability to buy over here. And then competition is what keeps the prices in check rather than taxes and stuff like that. And that's really the idea of capitalism. It was never to buy stuff cheaper from everywhere else to keep the competition or to keep the prices down. It was that the market would dictate the price of products and goods and services, and that if there was no market for it, or if somebody else came in lower at the market, then it would still be beneficial to the population and it would still be beneficial to the country. Yeah, it's the only thing it's crazy to where we're so frustrated by that. Like, people are upset that we're taxing other governments. Oh, yeah. Like, I'm sorry, what?
I tried to refer to this meme I had saw like a couple of weeks ago, and I kind of butchered it. And it's so indulge me for just a second here, because it's funny because it applies to trauma dumpers and it also applies to this as well. Unhealed people hear with their triggers, not with their ears. And I think that applies here, because the people that are so up in arms about this right this very moment, it's all the anti-Trumpers out there, right? Like, and it's all the liberal media outlets that are making the most noise out of it because they're scoring political points here and there with it. And I even saw tons of posts today like, so how are your 401ks doing today? Like,
oh, geez, I wonder who saw that, who posted that.
So
come on the podcast, Paul.
Such a narrow and really shallow view, and to regurgitate it is equally shallow and narrow, like to just spit that back out, because it's like this. Would you like to argue about the value of your home right now today?
No.
Why? Because it's fucking pointless because your house isn't for sale, right? So the same thing, like, you know, I'm not drawing from a 401k or a pension or anything right now. So I don't fucking care what it's not worth an argument either online, in public with anybody, because it's not relevant, because I'm not collecting on that. It's not going to do anything today. I'm not retiring today. Now, are people going to be impacted by this? Absolutely. However, the other side of this argument for the anti-Trumpers are, well, he's doing all these things because it's, you know, to make his friends wealthy and this, that, and the other thing. I would encourage every person who believes this, you know, again, these are people that are listening with triggers, not with their ears.
Correct.
And they're not using their brains, because right now the billionaires are losing money right now, like a lot of money.
That's exactly the point. You're right. So when you said 401k, I'm like, yeah, that's something that affects most Americans. I get it. Much smaller portion.
Yeah.
Imagine you have $100 million, $200 million, $500 million in the stock market or any kind of market share right now. You just took a 15% hit. So while you're clamoring that your $100,000 401k lost $14,000, somebody out there has $1 billion in the bank account and just lost, you know, $150 million.
Right.
So,
but they didn't lose it because they're not selling it today.
right.
So yeah, if you're trading anything today, yeah,
lost.
You could have lost. Like if you had decided 2 weeks ago that today was the day that you were going to sell something, it potentially is worth less than it was 2 weeks ago. That is correct. But that only matters if you're selling today. The sky is not falling. The sky isn't going anywhere.
Right.
No.
You know.
Well, and then that's, you know, even Austin's been on a couple of times as a financial advisor, and he says it all the time. He's like, I can guarantee that the market's going to go down. I can guarantee that the market's going to go up. I can't tell you when it's going to happen, because otherwise I'd be really a rich man. But, you know, and that's really the proven track. And you know, that was also something that was brought up during the Biden thing, was all the 401k. How's it doing? But the 401k also at that point went like 2.5 years without any growth.
Right.
So, I mean, it was a different perspective of like, oh, it took a big hit over one time. I think the idea is that long term, we're going to see the benefits of this country. And if we would stop fighting each other or just hating on people, and, you know, the media loves it when Trump's president, because now all of a sudden people are actually watching CBS and NBC again, because for a while they weren't. And, you know, people will be like, oh, you listen to Fox. I don't listen to any news, honestly. I try to find everything that I can on third-party sites and things like that, YouTube, whatever, and try to just dictate my own thoughts and beliefs on what's going on. And frankly, I just watched on the tariffs thing, I actually just watched a UK news channel today about it, and I was kind of impressed at their outlook at it. You know, it's going to be tough what he's trying to do, but I think long-term it'll work. As a country, we need to back the president, and if he's trying to lower things he's trying to make things better for us as an individual, he's definitely not trying to make it better for the rich people only. It's and for those also that complain about when the rich people are doing better, when rich people do better, the economy does better, the country does better, everybody does better. So
yeah, set aside your personal feelings, because if he fucking fails, we all fucking fail.
Right.
So, you know, there's no more boohooing about. I will say this just across the political spectrum. Do I think Trump's the perfect president? Absolutely not. But I will tell you this: Kamala would have done worse, and Biden's record spoke for itself. And I'll tell you this: if you think Biden was a great president. Wait, are there still mental institutions open? Nope. If you think Biden was a great president,
it makes it
I can't even say that. I can't even say it. Like, I don't want to piss, you know, YouTube off here with this, but if you have problems, if you think Biden was a good president
at any sense, and if you think that Kamala was going to be any better, you're right. Like, it's hard for me to understand and respect anything that you say. I'm open to a conversation. I'd love to hear it, but if you're just going to repeat the same sentence over and over and over again with
there will be far better presidents in the future. Like, do I think Trump was the greatest president in his first term? Far from it. Like, there's certainly, but yeah.
No, I think he's actually doing much better this second term. But yeah, of course, there's, you know, it's not even just the way he speaks and things like that. But it's funny because my wife and I were just watching a video the other day about Obama. I was talking. I was like, damn, that motherfucker could speak.
Yeah.
But he didn't do shit.
That's he was a great salesman. That's for sure.
Yeah.
I like his, I'll have a glass of water. In Flint, Michigan. And, you know, he just could barely touch that thing. I'll have a glass of water.
I know we don't have to dig into that, Evan. I don't know if you have any thoughts, but I think that we need to definitely touch base on that on a future show. All right. Well, hey, thanks for joining us, guys. If you, like I said, want to be on the show, Join the Discord. Join the community. Be part of the show. Have some fun. We'll talk to you later. Good night, everybody.
See you guys.
Provide when nights in the fray. Nothing off limits, we got something to say. Life and love, fitness, and fight all day. Guys Night Podcast, let's ride the wave.